We got another packed show. I always feel like, God, we're going to have enough to talk about? Or is this going to be exciting?
Yeah.
It never fails to be exciting.
That's true.
I mean, there is stuff that breaks all the time. So we're just like, okay, like, let's do this. Let's get talking about it, right? So
Right, yeah, and we have kind of a standoff where you and I both have an issue we want to discuss. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to do it right off the top. And we had a coin flip.
And I won.
And you won. So you get to start.
I win anyway. Let's just be honest.
That's
Usually when I'm like, this is the lead story. This is what we should be leading with.
Oh, is that how it works?
Yeah. Like, to your credit, you do 99% of the hard labor for this show.
Oh, no, not really. I mean, look, you put your time in, sir.
I do, but I just will say that I think you have a very good producer's mind, but I still feel like my old news days comes in and I'm like, I think this one is the leading story for today.
Okay.
I feel like I have a good.
Okay, good point. And I think you may be right on this. I have a story right after this that just infuriated me.
I understand that. I just think that this one is a little bit more interesting to start with.
Okay.
For the folks in New Mexico. Okay. Then we're going to dive into stories that definitely deal with national news. So we're going to be covering a lot of national news, sprinkled in some local stories as well. Yeah. So it's a blend today of both local and national. And obviously Mark copied my attire today. We're both in our fall wear. So you're welcome.
It's pumpkin top day.
It's okay. Well, okay. Okay. I'm not wearing pumpkin, just so you know. Mine's coral.
Oh, okay. Well, mine's pumpkin.
All right, pumpkin. Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's dive in.
You want to start off?
And then we do have some comments. We're going to get to those a little bit later in the show, so thanks for writing
in. By the way, our guy is right off the top here.
Oh, my gosh.
Cow.
Is Milan a real person? We've met every reporter. Have you ever met Milan?
I've not. I'm
not sure the guy's real. Okay. Because I have met every one of these political reporters in the state.
Yeah.
Never met Milan.
Yeah.
So maybe Milan's at places I'm at and we just don't meet. I don't know. But
maybe so.
Anyway, okay. So this just came out. This is my story, right?
Yep,
so
this is it.
I know that you're not as dialed in on this one as you are, but you're covered in this story. So that could be why you were more hesitant to lead with this one. But to me, this is a leading story.
Okay, go for it.
So this is out of the Santa Fe, New Mexican. The headline says, Republican gubernatorial field likely will grow to 3. Duke's on deck, everybody. After months spent analyzing his prospects, cannabis entrepreneur Duke Rodriguez said Tuesday he is 95% certain he will enter the Republican primary for governor. Rodriguez's company operates 25 cannabis stores in New Mexico. He told me he is prepared to spend up to $2 million of his personal wealth on the campaign.
$2 million.
On the campaign, though he might not have to take that step. Quote, I have rejected all contributions offered so far. I won't take any money until I'm officially in the race, he said in an interview.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, probably so. Well thought out there, Duke. Rodriguez actually registered his Run with Duke gubernatorial campaign with the Secretary of State more than 5 months ago. He would become the third Republican candidate for governor. Rio Rancho Mayor Greg Hull and first-year Senator Steve Lanier of Aztec are the others. The Republicans' best hope during their long drought was former television meteorologist Mark Ronchetti.
What?
From a standing start, Ronchetti in 2020 lost the U.S. Senate election to Democrat Ben Ray Lujan. Ronchetti nonetheless received 16,000 more votes in New Mexico than Donald Trump.
What?
Make sure people listen to that.
All right.
You are
Calm
one of
down.
the only Republicans that outpaced Trump. I'm sorry, I got to say it. Okay, Ronchetti has made no noise about a comeback, but he would become the Republican frontrunner for governor if he did. He would crush unknowns Lanier and Hull. Rodriguez would be a stronger competitor, would he? But he can't match the weatherman. I love that they're still calling you Hey, Milan, he's a meteorologist, for crying out loud.
You're on fire today.
For name identification. If Ronchetti stays on the sidelines doing his podcast, the Cannabis King moves to the frontrunner status for the Republicans. So I don't know. I found this to be, I had so many things to say, and I'm sitting here going, what can I actually say on the podcast that A, Mark won't kill me for, and B, I don't know. I don't just shoot off my mouth, which is what half the time I want to do, but I'm trying to really temper it down. I am trying to temper it down, people. So I guess a couple of things come to mind. Number one, I think what's interesting I mean, the first thing I found interesting, then we're going to dive into Duke, because I'm really the most interested in Duke Rodriguez of this whole story.
Sure, yeah.
But I do have to say, I thought it was interesting that it's talking about how Mayor Hull might actually run for mayor again at the same time as the gubernatorial race.
Right,
He's contemplating those.
Yep.
I'm sure it's because he's getting a lot of pressure from Rio Rancho to do that as well, because he's done such a great job as a mayor out there.
I think he has, yeah, he really has.
And so there's a lot of, support there for him to stay on as mayor. And so, but to run for both offices at the same time.
It's wild.
That's a little interesting, because running for governor is a pretty big deal in case he hasn't gotten that memo. So anyway, it's a huge time constraint, I will say that. And it should take 100%, 150% of your attention.
You think? Yeah.
Just from personal experience. Anyway, so that was one thing that kind of stood out to me. Number 2, hey, Milan, who someday we'll meet, maybe. I don't know. Daniel Chacon can introduce us. I don't know.
Yeah, we should ask Chacon.
Because we know Chacon pretty well.
Yeah.
He's a meteorologist. So at some point, you could actually address Mark as a meteorologist, not the weatherman.
I would appreciate being addressed by
Mark doesn't have an ego on that, but it's still so dumb that people say that. It just bugs me.
Oh, that's fine.
I know it doesn't bug you, but it bugs me. Okay. All right. So let's talk about Rodriguez a little bit, because number one, I think what stands out to me first and foremost, I'm like, does Milan know how the Republican primary process works in the state of New Mexico? Do you see what this guy has built his entire business on? He's got 25 cannabis shops currently operating in the state of New Mexico, which means I'm sure he is rolling in the cash. I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's a very wealthy man. 25 pot shops. I mean, most conservative Republicans are not loving that from the starters, and especially those primary voters. I think that's not great. There's some other stuff about this guy, but I'm gonna pass this off to you first to see what you have to say about old Duke.
Well, I think there's a few things if you're Duke. I think number one, I think there are 3 big impediments to him. For Milan saying he'd be the front runner, I don't think that's true at all. I think
it would not.
As a matter of fact, I think if you know how these things work, I think he's the front runner at all. And if someone's actually being honest with him, and they should have an honest conversation with him, so he knows what he's getting himself into.
Okay, Mark, let's play pretend for a second.
Okay,
You're having this serious conversation with old Duke. Yeah. What do you say to Duke as somebody who has experience running 2 statewide races as a Republican?
Right.
Given the fact, I mean, you're humble enough to be like, hey, listen, I lost. I did everything I could. I ran 2 solid campaigns. I'm not coming in here all egotistical, but you have more knowledge about what it takes to run for a statewide office as a Republican in New Mexico than I think anybody we've seen that's run lately.
Right.
So you're having a sit down with old Duke. What would you tell him?
Well, the first thing I'd tell him is I think he has 3 problems. Okay. Number one, and this is something he's going to have to figure out ahead of time, because a lot of people would be putting their faith in him if he gets in this race. Right. Mm-hmm. So number one is, do you live in the state of New Mexico? That's the question. Number one. Well, okay. So there's some indication. Obviously, he has a home in Scottsdale. Is that where he lives most of the time? I don't know, but believe me, Maggie Toulouse-Oliver is not looking to do him any favors. So if Duke Rodriguez does not really live in the state of New Mexico
and is running for governor,
and he's going to get bounced. Okay, so make sure you figure that one out, because I think that's the easiest hurdle to clear. I think that figure that out, make sure it's true. Don't be so arrogant that you're going to go running into something, people are going to support you, and then all of a sudden you're going to bail from the race 3 or 4 months in because it's figured out that you're bounced in a courtroom because you really don't live here. Mm-hmm. So if you don't live here, don't run for governor of New Mexico. Don't do it, okay? That's simple. Hopefully he does live here. I don't know Duke. I've never met him. His reputation precedes him in some ways, but I don't know him, and so I don't know. And so we'll get into how much I don't know him here in just one second. And number 2, okay, you're right on the marijuana thing. The marijuana, I think in many cases for many Republican voters, and I would count myself in one of these groups, which is marijuana is not a positive influence on the mental health of the people of the state of New Mexico. And I think it's not been a positive thing for us.
It has not been a positive thing.
I don't view it that way. I don't pretend to act like I support it. I don't. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, it's the law of the land. It is what it is. Legislature passes it, whatever. It's done. Okay. But it has not made New Mexico a better state, especially for kids and especially for our mental health.
I would argue that any state, by the way, that has made pot legal is not made the state a more positive experience.
Right.
Any place. I'm from Colorado, and it's not made it better there either. Keep going back.
No, you're right. And I think there wasn't a lot of planning that went into this, right? All of a sudden you had all of a sudden there's a pot shop everywhere around every corner.
Everywhere. It's on every corner.
It was not planned well. Now, that's not Duke's fault, but it is an issue for Republican voters. voters. Believe me, when you go start talking about people and Darren,
how you make your money.
Right. And we talked about, right. And you got 20, would you say
25 shops currently in New Mexico.
Right. And I get that he's gotten rich off it, and God bless him for doing well financially. No problem with that at all. It's just that when that is how you did well financially, you better realize you're going to walk into plenty of rooms, Republican rooms with Republican primary voters that are going to say, you made your fortune on the backs of New Mexicans and hurting New Mexico. You will have that to some degree. You just have to have an answer for it and be able to talk it through. I'm not saying you can't, but that's hurdle number 2. But those 2 hurdles pale in comparison to his third problem. And his third problem is when you go look at the money that Duke Rodriguez has donated to political parties in the state of New Mexico, he has donated massive amounts of money to the other party and not to Republicans. The reason I don't know Duke Rodriguez, never gave me a dime, never supported me, not once. Now, I don't care if you don't support me, but when you give max donations to people like Raul Torres, who sued Donald Trump, when you're the guy who funds Raul Torres at the expense of Donald Trump, if you think you can walk into a Republican primary and win, you're crazy, brother.
Yeah.
And you need to have someone actually have a real conversation with you. He's given tens of thousands of dollars to the legislature, and especially people like Javier Martinez, who arguably has made doing business and life in New Mexico very difficult for Republicans and low-income voters across this state. And so literally, you go look at his donor list.
ActBlue, right?
He gives to ActBlue, which is the Democratic arm in the state of New Mexico. I mean, he's given thousands of dollars. Has he given thousands of dollars to Nella Domenici when she ran for Senate? Did she give thousands of dollars to me? Did she give thousands of dollars to Yvette Herrell? Did he give thousands of dollars to anybody who's run as a Republican? Very few.
So the question is he really a Republican?
Well, yeah, exactly right. All right. And so that's my point. If someone's actually going to have an honest conversation with Duke Rodriguez, they should say to him, listen, are you kidding me? Because you're not smarter than every Republican voter in this state. Here's the thing about Republican voters in New Mexico. They're honest, they're straightforward, and they hold to their convictions. So if you think you can walk in, I don't care whether you have $2 million you're going to put in, big deal. Let me tell you something. There's somebody else who thought they could go get a ton of Republican votes, and it didn't happen. And let me tell you how it was just the mayor's race. Darren White running against Louis Sanchez, right? Well, Louis comes in, thinks he can get a bunch of Republican votes. Guess how many mailers it took to burn Louis down to 6%? It took 2 mailers from Darren White. And that was the end of Louis. The minute you found out he voted to keep sanctuary cities in Albuquerque, he was done. Okay? The minute you go out, and whether it's Greg Hull or Steve Lanier, if I'm either one of those guys, I don't care if Duke gets in this race, because all I got to raise is about $100,000. And I can burn Duke Rodriguez to the ground.
You do have to raise a lot more than that.
You absolutely do.
But to take Duke out, no.
Don't kid yourself, though. Okay, Greg or Steve or anybody. And Greg and Steve are good guys. I like them both. I don't know Duke, and I don't have anything against Duke. Okay, but I'm just telling you, Republican voters aren't stupid. So if you're sitting there in Scottsdale and you think
I'm going to run for governor.
I'm just going to run for governor. I looked over the numbers and I'm going to win.
Yeah, that was the other thing.
Dude, you're going to get destroyed.
I kind of clipped it out of the article, but like the analogy was the whole like, well, we flip every 8 years. We flip parties.
That's not analyzing numbers.
That's like, okay, that ended pre-Trump, really. So
No. What you're not accounting for
is no swing voters.
No, what you're not accounting for is the fact that who's in the White House right now? It's a Republican. Who was in a White House when we flipped to Susanna? It was a Democrat. We flip away from the party in power. That's what we end up doing. Okay, it happens all the time. And doing some cursory, well, I counted out 8 years and I counted out another 8 years and I'm the greatest. Okay, that's not, so again, now let me say this though, in defense of him. And the fact is that if no one else gets in the race and you have Greg Hull who goes and ends up, going back to being mayor, and it's just Steve Lanier. I don't know how Steve's going to do. I like Steve a lot, really good dude. So I don't know how that's going to go. But if no one else gets in the race looking at what's going on with the environment, could Duke sneak through? It's possible. So my argument is, for Duke, your biggest challenge is the primary. It is not the general election. You'll have a little better shot, I think, in the general election. But again, I don't know him. I don't know what he's like. Okay, I have no idea. But honestly, anybody of any consequence who has two legs, a heartbeat,
and is an actual Republican.
And is an actual Republican will destroy you. And like you can think, oh, just put more money in. It won't matter. Your $2 million won't hold up for anything. The minute they see your donor list, the minute they see it, it's over.
Because then it's like you're playing both sides, and you're trying to like.
Oh, you're a liar.
You're not even playing both sides because you're not even supporting Republicans. You're just supporting Democrats.
Much. That's the way that donor looks. Yeah, that's.
And so it's like, well, at this point, why would I believe? Because you checked a box at voter registration, and that's why I'm supposed to believe you. I don't know. I just find this to be so off. Like it's off, and no doubt about this.
It's cynical, is what it is.
There's no doubt about this. This is not the only people that will be in this race, and so Duke better just actually educate himself a little bit, I think, on the process.
No, he should just have some honest conversations with real people who actually know what's going on.
Right.
The problem is that as you get ready to run, it's so much easier to listen to people who tell you how great you are. And to tell you, oh my gosh, you're gonna kill. I mean, my gosh, it's gonna be incredible. Da 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 da. And then you don't realize, you don't think to ask the question, because I remember thinking not to ask this question either, which was, and I had really good people like Alexis Darnell who sat me down and said, here's the thing you need to know. The hardest part's the primary, by far. Like the general is a piece of cake compared to the primary, because you don't disagree with necessarily people the way you do in the general, right? But the primary, New Mexico voters, New Mexico Republicans care, and they do not suffer fools, and they'll put you through the ringer. And if you have the donor history he has, he better have an answer for that, and maybe he does. But if he's not asking himself, if he's not going through and saying, what's going on with my donor history? How big a deal is it going to be that I gave to Raul Torres, the guy who has made a living out of suing Trump? You start to look at him and go, who are you, dude? Yeah. Like, you're not one of us.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be what he's going to have to deal with. So I think your point is right. I think Lanier and Hull, even in those guys, if I'm those guys, I'm thinking to myself, if it's me and Duke Rodriguez, right? If I'm Steve Lanier sitting in Aztec and I'm going, if it's me and Duke Rodriguez, I get a couple of good donors and I like my chances. A couple of mailers, an ad on Fox News, look out. It's going to come down on him like a ton of bricks. And the minute you start going out and you start seeing people and they've seen the ad and they know the truth, you can't escape it. You get two words out of your mouth and you're screaming it. The people are screaming at you.
Yeah.
And so that's just the way it goes.
Yeah. I don't think Duke's on deck, Milan, as you opened up your article. I am going to say Duke's not on deck.
I got a little fired up out of this.
Duke is going to get thrown overboard real quick if he tries to jump in.
But if no one else gets it, but there's still a lane for him, it may not be. Crazier things have happened.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and put. You and I, we always have these little inside bets, right? People don't know about our inside bets. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Okay.
This is not all that's going to be on the Republican side jumping in on the governor's race.
Okay, that may be true, but I'm going to say I'll take that bet.
Oh, no, you won't. No, you won't. Oh, please. No, you won't. Okay, then I'm just going to win. I'm going to win this bet.
Fine. You win the bet.
I'm going to win the bet, people. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to your story because you were already fired up about that one. This one to me is interesting. But it's also just like
kind of nerdly. I'm going to go a little nerd on you. Yeah, all right.
Hey, weatherman.
I know the weatherman's about to go nerd.
Weatherman. Okay, Milan, he's showing up now.
Here it goes. Yeah. Okay, tell Milan to pay attention. All right. So Tucker Carlson has been in a bunch of battles over the past few weeks because Tucker Carlson's doing, he interviews Nick Fuentes and doesn't press him hard. When I've seen Tucker Carlson grill people before, doesn't do that. Remember looking back at Tucker Carlson a few years ago at Fox News, his show in a lot of cases for Republicans was like must-see TV. Right. It was interesting, and you didn't always agree with him, but you kind of go, okay, where's he going? And you felt like he was an honest broker. I don't know where he's at now because I'm not going to the Fuentes stuff. Nick Fuentes is a scumbag, and I'm not going to waste any time talking about him. Anybody who platforms Nick Fuentes and doesn't press him hard should be embarrassed because Nick Fuentes is an awful human being, period. So I'm done. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a guest named Dane Wigington, okay? And Tucker had him on to talk about spraying and contrails and all that stuff, right? He has him on to discuss this issue. Okay. Now I started listening because I'm not a huge look meteorologically. The whole contrails thing, as I look at things meteorologically, doesn't work for me. There are meteorological explanations, very clear ones for the most part in what we're dealing with here. Now, could there be other things going on that I don't know about? It's possible that there are. But this issue is a general rule. Meteorologically, it makes complete sense why you start to see these high cirrus clouds as a plane goes through at times. Now, we can get into some of that. That's not the nerdliness I want to talk about.
Right.
I want you to listen.
We'll save that nerdiness for another day.
We'll save it for a different day. So I want you to listen to this guy and what he said about meteorologists with Tucker Carlson. And Tucker Carlson, from what I saw and from what I saw in the unedited version, no pushback on this, okay? And I just want you to listen to what this Dane Wigington says. And I find this to be the most uninformed, clueless opinion. And I want to get to a broader point on this. It's not the contrails point. I'm not going to get into that whole discussion. Some of you are seriously into it. Some of you think it's bonkers. I get it. But I want to talk to you about buying into something and buying into someone who says ridiculous things. And when they start to say ridiculous things, you have to be very careful about believing the perspective that they're coming from. So just listen to this.
Meteorologists know 7 days in advance that Hurricane Harvey was going to go where it went and sit there for 3 days. How could they possibly know that? These people are reading scripts, Tucker. They're literally reading scripts passed down to them by Raytheon, private defense contractors Raytheon and Lockheed Martin that are neck deep in climate engineering, everything, patents, operations, everything. And they literally supply and provide the quote forecast, which is the scheduled weather, to the National Weather Service and NOAA, our nation's weathermen. That passes all the way down. And local meteorologists simply, they know how long their leash is. They're protecting their paychecks and pensions. They toe the line as well, just like the safe and effective in the medical community. Everybody just toes the line because they don't want to disrupt their personal paradigm. These storms are being steered and manipulated, period. That's beyond dispute.
Okay. This guy is a moron. I mean, just idiotic. Okay. I spent 25 years doing this. There is no basis for what he says. Like, we all get together at this special resort in New Hampshire called the Balsams, and they give us the forecast, and then we just repeat it in our little earpiece. It's ludicrous. You go through, and how did they know that a hurricane was going to stall out? Because we literally have weather models from every major country in the world that we look at to track hurricanes or to track storms. And the weather models are getting better and better and better. Are they perfect? No. But most times, your local TV meteorologist or your weather service meteorologist has a decent feel of what's happening with the weather. It's not just a guess. It is because you have data that you look at every single day and you compare the data. And this guy going out and saying that Raytheon and Lockheed Martin determine the forecast, it's ludicrous. It's a lie, and it's stupid. When I hear this stupidity, it makes me think back to if you went on the other side. When you listen to people on talk about climate change and are like, oh my gosh, this thunderstorm is one of the worst I've ever seen. And you look at it and go, what are you talking about? We have thunderstorms like this all the time. These hurricanes, they're more big, strong hurricanes than we've ever had. That's not true. Right? It's just not true. And you start seeing thunderstorms, you see flooding, and it's like, we've never had flooding like this. Oh, actually, yes, we have. Right? And now we're talking about cirrus clouds. Now we got to talk about Republicans and cirrus clouds. Being like, oh, I got too many cirrus clouds here. No, don't fall for this garbage. This guy's full of crap, okay? And so the fact that he had the temerity to say that he didn't understand how in the world that you could do any forecast, and how would you know? How would they know? Let me just show you how we know, okay? And here it is right here. I just pulled this. These are the models, some of the models that I look at. They're right here. Hold on, I get this guy again. There he is. Okay, here's some of the models that we look at. The GFS, the one there in the top left corner, that's a US model I look at all the time. That's a US-based model. GEFS, see the one over there? That's an ensemble model, actually even better. That's more models kind of pushed into one that help you get a better idea. As we keep on going here, the Icon, that's a German model. We look at that one too. And you look at the UK Met, see that there? That UK Met, that is actually a UK model. Who knew? That's why they call it the UK Met. So as you see all these models, there are literally tons of them. There are dozens of them, okay? Some of them are more reliable than others. There's no question. But you take these together, seriously, get up.
Okay.
Honestly,
Wow.
not
Are
cool.
you still talking?
Not cool. Just stop.
Are we still talking about weather?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
We are talking about weather still.
Okay.
So hold on. So you got all these models, right? I mean, there are tons of them. Okay, these are the models that we rely on. But here we go. I want to just show you something because here is a model that we're going to look at, okay? And I want you to just take a look right here. And this is at a 500 millibar model, okay? What this is 18,000 feet in the atmosphere, roughly, okay? And what this shows is, see that big swirling thing off the coast of California? That's a storm that has not arrived yet. I know it's witchcraft. It has not arrived to that location yet. Okay, but turns out through witchcraft, we know that it's going to come into the West Coast later this week. It's true. We're able to look into the future with weather models. It's crazy. And then we keep on going, and you can see that storm is going to come in and just kind of fall apart and skip through northern New Mexico. See that? It's going to fall apart. And if you look up at the top, that's roughly going to be late Sunday, early Monday. Okay? And then guess what's going to happen? Through witchcraft, we're going to find out that there's another storm. There it is off the coast of California. And here it comes, and that's going to come into New Mexico. That happens next Saturday. Next Saturday? There's no way to know that. All right, yeah, you're right. There's some things that could change back and forth, but roughly, I guarantee you, late next week, we're going to get another system coming through. And then what's going to happen then? Yeah, we could see another system work its way in our direction as well. That one's coming down the West Coast right there. It's in Southern California. See it right now, Krysty? Look.
It's witchcraft.
Yeah, exactly.
You know that song? It's like a little Frank Sinatra song.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
it's Frank or Dino.
It's
one
crazy.
Of them sang it.
The witchcraft is crazy.
Yeah.
How could they possibly know? This guy is a liar. Okay, he's a liar about weather forecasting, clearly. I don't know what his deal is with all the contrails and everything else, okay? But now, not every model shows this. Different models show different things at different times, okay? But my point to you on this is, when you start to listen to people like this and they tell you what's happening in the sky, he has absolutely no knowledge of what's going on. But he's making stuff up and he's saying Raytheon is telling weather forecasters what to do. Like some call goes out over the bat phone. Enough of these guys. Don't be foolish enough to listen to people like this. So just make sure when you're getting information, get it from people who know what they're talking about, or if you're learning stuff you didn't know about, cross-source it. Now, some people talking about stuff going on are going to be right. I mean, some people are going to talk about things and you're like, I didn't really think of it that way. And then you do more research and figure out they're right. But if someone goes and says something ridiculous like Raytheon is giving you your weather forecast, he's a liar and he's stupid. And you shouldn't take him seriously. And I don't know why Tucker Carlson now feels the need to do dumb things like platform guys like this. And then notice what Tucker said. Nothing. Yeah. Doesn't push back.
Right.
He's not like, are you kidding? You're talking about thousands of people involved in some conspiracy when this guy didn't take 5 minutes to realize how weather forecasting is done. And so it just bugged me beyond belief.
I can see that. You've gotten very heated about that. Very heated.
I know.
Okay. Well,
all right. I'm done with it. I'll cut the rest of it out. I cut it short for you.
Wow. That was short?
That was short.
That was the short version?
It was.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
If I had somebody to bring me some coffee up here so I could stay awake during all the weather chitter chatter. I mean, I know people out there love the weather, so I love it. Send the comments in. It makes Mark feel good because he loves to talk about weather. He knows that you love to talk about weather. He just married somebody who doesn't like to talk about weather.
No, but I mean, like even by the way, I should say on the 500 millibar chart, that's atmospheric motion. So we're not talking about that wasn't precipitation. That was not at the surface. But anyway, no, but please stop. Okay. All right. Move on to the debate.
Yes, move on. Let's go. Okay, let's do this. Let's talk about the mayor's race in Albuquerque. That gets my blood going. All right. Let's bring that on home a little bit. All right. So we had another debate between Darren and Keller on, I believe it was on KOB, right? Yep. Channel 4. And basically what we have learned from this debate is Keller and Darren are going to hate each other by the end of this whole thing. I mean, that's what we're betting on that too, right?
We are.
We're both on that team, right?
Are.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just take a little snippet from this debate we wanted to show you.
Nobody believes that. You have been doing that for years, especially as you've gotten closer to this election. You went out yesterday and you said that crime is down in all categories. You just said that crime is down for the first time in 10 years.
It is. That's what the question said.
Please. In 2014, there were 30 homicides. In 2024, there were 106. How can you sit there and look at these people and tell them crime is going down? Let me assure you, they don't believe it for 1 second because they see it and they feel it with their own eyes.
Okay, so a couple things you can tell in that clip. Number one, Darren has forgotten about the cameras.
Yeah, because for him now it's personal. He's like, I'm going after Keller at this point. So he is like, my focus is on this guy. It is not on the camera.
But remember, the focus is on the camera because that's the voter.
I know.
So that's who you're talking to, and that's who you got to connect with. And so when this thing got heated, they went back and forth. You can't let it get like that.
Yeah.
You remember, going forward, Darren's got to be focused on the voter in the camera, not on Tim Keller. It is a pivot. Darren one-on-one with the voter. When you get fiery and when you get angry and you start turning and you never look at the camera and you're just like, screw this. And then you're just going and giving it the business. I mean, you are just I get it. You get fired up.
Yeah.
Darren has been living this for a year. He looks at what Keller says and it's galling to him because he listens to what he says. Yeah,
it's
no, I totally get it.
It's frustrating when Keller says one thing and he gives you that phony like politician smile and the fake ha 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 ha, ha laugh. I'm just like, oh, please stop doing that. Please stop doing that. Like, just talk to the people and stop acting that. But anyway, okay, well, that was kind of they are going to hate each other in about 3.5.
Oh, I think it's
weeks.
Oh, believe me that no. It's
already on.
Yeah, the bell is tolled.
Okay, it's already done. Okay, let's dive into a couple of quick comments and then we're going back to some more stories. But the reason I want to pepper in some comments is because some of the comments actually have to do with some of the stories we're getting ready to lay in. So this first one though does not. This one I was literally waiting for an appointment and I was going through some of the comments and this one made me laugh out loud. So I pulled it. This is Panzer Division, something like that. Krysty, can I buy you a new chair? I don't think that Mark will let you buy one for yourself.
We run a tight operation here, Panzer.
Okay, we do run a tight operation. Duct tape at all costs. And honestly, in Mark's defense, I am more strict on the budget at home than you are. You're very, you are like, we don't need the heat on, so why would we spend the money on that? That's where you get frugal. On anything to do with furniture, that comes under my domain, and I'm pretty frugal on that. So honestly, the chairs are my fault.
Plus, it's a character thing now. It's like you guys talk about the chairs all the time. We're not getting rid of the chairs.
Oh, well,
we are talking about redoing this.
Because now listen to this. Now my chair doesn't even go up and down anymore. So that part's even the lever's broken now. So I'm going to be like 2 inches tall in a minute. So I might have to invest in a chair.
No, I get it. But
I love this person just wrote in.
No, we've talked about redoing the studio though, because believe me, your support has been helpful, and we're thinking about the studio. We'll see.
We'll see. Okay. So here's one from Ken. Ken says, Keller wants to place, this is back to the Keller, Darren White race, obviously. Keller wants to place most of the security responsibility on the small business owners. If you think Keller is going to defend you if you hurt or kill someone while they're robbing or burglarizing your business, you better think again. Keller wants to place the civil liability on the business owners so the city doesn't have to pay the judgments. And you see that all over Twitter from business owners, actually, that are having to do that. Okay, loved my soul dog. This was regarding we broke down the filibuster in the last episode, and this is this comment coming in from that. Need to end the filibuster to get any laws passed, I think is what they meant, laws passed in the next 3 years. Trump and Vance are right. The leftists are threatening any remaining moderate senators and will end it the first chance they get in order to deliver results and fix the economy that Biden destroyed.
Yeah, and that's just a quick thing on that. We're going to have something on the moderate Democrat senators who could be an endangered species here shortly.
Yeah, very shortly. And then this last one also came in from Love My Soul Dog. I clipped both of these comments, but because it tied into what we were talking about here. Mark, you keep saying Trump needs to fix the economy, but I don't hear you say what he needs to do. I do think we talk about it quite a bit, but why don't you go ahead and address that because it ties into some of our next stories. And thanks, by the way, for those of you who did write in.
Yeah.
Keep those comments coming. Please drop us one here on the No Doubt About It podcast on the YouTube channel. I get those. If you want to write in, do it to info@nodoubtaboutitpodcast.com. And if you want to sign up for our emails, please do that on our website, nodoubtaboutitpodcast.com. Thanks so much, you guys.
Yeah. No.
So talk about this Trump, the economy.
So a few things. First of all, a lot of this is focus, right? So messaging. We've talked about the fact that, and we'll get into this in a second, Trump can't stand up and say the economy is doing great. I don't know what you're talking about. Biden did that, and it didn't work. It got him blown out of office. Mm-hmm. It'll do the same thing to Trump and will hurt Republicans in 2026 if people don't feel like you understand what they're going through. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean you need all these sweeping policies that maybe even as president you can't always deliver, right? So there has to be some understanding that, number one, one, you understand the problem. And then number two, there are things he can do. Obviously, you've got to push down energy prices. You do need, if you can, to get lower interest rates as well. And then you've got to do as much to remove impediments and government regulation as possible to keep the economy going here and to keep things moving. The thing that Trump doesn't get credit for, and this is part of the problem, is he passed a bill in the big, beautiful bill that kept tax rates low. They would have skyrocketed had the bill not passed.
And you would have felt that.
You would have felt it huge, but you can't prove a negative, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't lose that. And so therefore people don't totally understand that. So there's a lot of things I think Trump is doing well with, but at the same time, he's tone deaf right now and he better watch it. So one other thing here, just to get Soul Dog and get to his point a little more deeply as well. We did pull a quick clip and Scott Jennings on CNN did a pretty good job of explaining exactly what this path looks like as well. So it's not only my thoughts, but he has some as well, which I think were pretty wise.
Several things can be true. A, he did inherit a mess. And anytime you're messaging on the economy, tried and true, blame your predecessor. Obama did it for 8 years and it worked pretty well for him. And it, in this case, would be true. Number two, you cannot talk people out of their lived experience. I mean, Biden learned this the hard way, and that's a true story. And though I think Trump does have a good story to tell on getting the tax rates permanently lowered, and I think some stimulation of the manufacturing economy through the tariffs is absolutely true. People are still feeling like they're having trouble keeping their nose above water when it comes to cost of living. You can't talk people out of their lived experience. But he's only been in office for less than a year. He's got an economic program that is not a bunch of simple quick fixes. It's a long-term reordering of the U.S. economy, and that's what he has to sell. More than anything, I think it's just a question of focus. Do people believe that he is thinking about what they're dealing with on a daily basis, or is he dealing with the 40 other problems that he is trying to solve at any given time? So I think when you're heading into an election year, you know, getting a little bit more focus on the domestic stuff, particularly the economy, as opposed to a lot of the foreign policy wins that he's had, probably is in order.
Yeah, I think that it's exactly right. It's talking about, you know, obviously Trump trying to fix the Biden economy in such a short amount of time is impossible for anybody. I don't care who took, if it wasn't Trump, if it had been, let's say it would have been J.D. Vance that had gotten the nomination and he'd been in there, he couldn't have fixed it. Or if it was DeSantis, he couldn't have fixed it either in this short amount of time. However, it's all about the messaging now. It's about looking and talking about it and being really realistic and saying, listen, I know it's still tight at home. I understand it's getting, you know, it's hard and there's things that have been dropping, like energy prices, but let me tell you what we're doing to keep prices coming down. And I think that's really what's the missing link, is that Trump's forgetting to come back around to that and hit that really hard back at home and be focused really on domestic policies. He's been so focused on foreign policies, which is great and it's necessary, but he does have to spend a lot more time, I think, talking about the economy.
Yeah, and because of that, the numbers have collapsed to a point that should really alarm the White House. So here's Herrell on what numbers should be most concerning to everybody at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Real problem, because take a look here. Americans on inflation, you go back to October of 2024. Who did Americans trust more in inflation, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? They trusted Donald Trump by 9 points on average. You jump over to this side of the screen, those same exact polls have him way, way, way underwater, 26 points underwater on his net approval on inflation. So it's not that the polls are fake, it's that the American people have turned against you, Mr. President. You've gone from leading by 9 points on inflation to being 26 points underwater. You're doing something very wrong in the minds of the American public.
I mean, negative 26, that's a problem.
That is a problem. There's no doubt.
I mean,
there's no doubt.
I was floored when I saw that number.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty significant change in a short amount of time. Yeah. So I think he's got to kind of keep that going. But
yeah. But the messaging, right, what you mentioned, the messaging is a huge issue. So Trump sits down with Laura Ingraham and has a very interesting interview. And I give Laura Ingraham a lot of credit because this was an interesting interview she did. I cannot stand when you hear people go and interview someone of their own political party and they just shine them up. And it's irritating because you learn nothing, right? You should be pressing these elected officials, no matter what party you're in, right? Just get some answers for people. It's important. And I think, I don't watch a ton of Laura Ingraham, but I will tell you, I think she did a really good job in this interview. And we have a few different clips from her where she talks about this. So she asked him about the economy, and she asked exactly the way we would have asked it, which is, okay, you got a problem here. What's the deal? When Trump, I think, off message says things are great, she says, well, people don't think they're great. And so here's what Laura Ingraham said.
Even with interest rates up, the economy is the strongest it's ever been. You asked me, just to go back to the beginning of your question, you talked about prices. We're down on energy. We're down on interest rate. Interest rates are down despite the Fed. Now, if we had a normal person at the Fed would have really low interest rates, and we will soon have that. We'll have somebody that's...
Then why are people saying they're anxious about the economy? Why are they saying that?
I don't know that they are saying. I think polls are fake. We have the greatest economy we've ever had. We will have over $20 trillion come into our economy, and it's largely because of my election, but it's also largely because of tariffs.
Okay, couple things. The whole it's fake won't work. Greatest economy ever won't work. Okay? He definitely had a strong claim on the economy in his first term. There's no doubt. But right now, strongest economy ever will not work. It's not the same country that he took over in 2016. And he isn't at the point that he was when he ended his presidency in 2020. You're talking about going everywhere where everything is more money. And so for now, and to look at this and to say things are good, fake news, you can't do that. It's terrible messaging, and he's got to stop. And I think that the tricky point for him is that I understand the point on trying to do tariffs. I do get that. But talking about another issue here is trying to do tariffs when prices are already high is a problem. Because it's not that tariffs alone have shot prices way up. That didn't turn out to be true. But it's definitely a situation where if we didn't have some of the tariff pressure, it's likely we could see costs down a little bit more. Now, on the other side, we are taking in quite a bit of income into the country here. But this is a difference between making a smart business decision for the country, which tariffs may or may not be, but there's a real case to be made that it is a smart move in some ways. But for everybody sitting at home, tariffs aren't a benefit to them right now. They're not seeing it. Yeah. So this is tricky. So you've got a short-term problem with prices, or at least a near-term problem with prices. And then you've got a reordering of the economy going forward with trying to get tariffs and more money into the country that will bring down the deficit and the debt and will help us, going forward. But those two things don't fit together very well. And so Trump needs to understand that. And that's why I would say, getting back to some of our viewer email, what can you do? Well, it may have been made more sense to wait on the tariffs a little bit longer till the economy started to recover more and prices came down a little bit. So that's some of what I think we're dealing with here. But his messaging is terrible right now.
Yeah, I would say that, the problem is it's an easy hook for the opposing side to be like, the reason things are so costly right now and the reason food prices haven't gone down, the reason everything's expensive is just blaming the tariff plan. And I think in general, most Americans, I'd say in general, don't understand the tariff plan. They think of it like a tax that's coming back on consumers, and that's not what it is. But most people don't really have the time to figure out what the tariff is and what it's going to do to you. So it's an easy get for the other side to say the reason everything's so expensive is because of tariffs, instead of saying, hey, actually, we're coming off a really crap economy under Biden, and he's only had so much time to actually get this back, and having him directly tell the camera and tell the viewers, I'm working on this. Here's what I'm doing to work on this at home. Things that will impact you at home. And I think that's really what matters. And one thing that I think a lot of people would appreciate is the fact that we know now a lot of folks can't afford to buy a home, especially younger home buyers. Are really, those dreams of owning a home are getting pushed farther and farther down the road. And that's a problem, I think, for Trump.
Well, it is. And in fact, right now, the average home buyer, 59 years old. 59 years old. Crazy high.
Yeah.
And it's a real problem for people. And we get it. And that's what he's got to understand. Now, So I want to jump into this. Another clip from the Laura Ingraham interview where Trump is
talking. And for viewers at home that are people that are just listening, this is a Realtor a magazine cover that swapped younger couples for seniors for the average home buyer. Just to kind of show some of the differences. So if you're not watching us, that's what this clip is. That
yeah, sorry, I was forget to do that. Yeah. Everybody listening is like, what is he talking about?
Yeah, what are they talking about?
Yeah, so that's nuts, right? So then Laura Ingraham asks him, hey, wait a minute, your own base does not like the 50-year mortgage.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody that my mom, a single mom who you think of your mortgage, you want to get that mortgage paid off as quickly as you possibly can, right? It's like the whole same reason that she never leased a car, she never rented anything, is because in her mind, it was like no debt. You need to get things taken care of. And maybe, there is some economic value in sometimes having debt and, accruing some debt so you can build on your financial plan. That makes sense, right? But when you hear the words a 50-year mortgage, my mom is not here anymore, but my goodness, my mom would pass out on that number if she actually heard that. So let's take a listen to what happened when Laura Ingraham actually called Trump out on this 50-year plan.
Something that has enraged your MAGA friends, which is this 50-year mortgage idea. So a significant MAGA backlash, calling it a giveaway to the banks and simply prolonging the time it would take for Americans to own a home outright. Is that really a good idea?
It's not even a big deal. I mean, you go from 40 to 50 years, and what it means is you pay something less from 30. That some people had a 40, and then now they have a 50. All it means is you pay less per month. You pay it over a longer period of time. It's not like a big factor. It might help a little bit. But the problem was that Biden did this. He increased the interest rates, and I have a lousy Fed person who's going to be gone in a few months.
Okay, so just a couple quick things here. So what would the benefits be of this? You lose about 15 to 20% of your monthly payment would be deferred, basically, okay, if you stretched it out to 50 years, okay? You increase affordability maybe nominally and be easier to qualify, but the interest paid basically would double on your mortgage. So for example, if you had like a $400,000 home, by the time you're all said and done, you'd pay something like $750,000 in interest.
And I'm sorry.
Crazy. And by the way, slower equity buildup, right? It would take you forever to start paying principal on this thing. And then the supply and price inflation could become an issue as well. But really the biggest issue here is paying so much more in interest.
Well, and also think about the people that really support Trump, right? A lot of those folks are Dave Ramsey fans, right? Well, Dave Ramsey's whole thought process is to get out of debt, right? To get your house paid off as quickly as you can. If you can do a 15-year, which a lot of people can't do 15-year, but if you can, you try to do that, things of that nature. So the thought of let's just think the average home buyer, because I've heard also 49 is another age bracket of buying homes, 49, 59, all those are kind of coming in together. Think about that, Mark. You're 49 or you're 59 when you are able to buy a house and you have a 50-year mortgage. You're 100 by the time you own that house. I mean, that makes me break out into hives, personally.
Well, I agree. And I think that, I think Trump has to do some things. And I do think one of them could be this, which is a better idea to me, which is portable mortgage rates. In other words, if you're in your home right now and you have a pretty good mortgage rate, okay, you could then take that and go to a different home with that rate.
I love that. We've loved that idea.
That's a great idea. Now, you maintain your rate, you'd avoid penalties from the early payoff, and you get greater flexibility when moving. Not a bad idea there. Now, our system is not set up for that. It is not right now. However, there are countries that do it. I think Canada does it. A couple other countries do it.
Oh, interesting.
So not that we want to copy Canada on everything, but it is something to think about, right? And that is, there are some of those things we can do. And also, I don't think big buyers, big hedge funds, people like that should be buying single-family homes. I don't think we can allow them to. I think it's ridiculous.
That's crazy too.
Yeah, I think if
they're buying out those home buyers that are trying desperately to go in and buy a house, then they find out they have a deal, and then something swoops in, that's exactly what's happening. And some of these big companies are buying out these single-family homes.
Indeed, they are. And sorry, I lost my place. Okay, I was hoping you'd keep going.
Sorry.
So one more thing on the Laura Ingraham interview. I want to hit this one more thing because I think it's kind of interesting. The H-1B visas, which are when you bring in people into the country, certain education levels and things like that, to fill certain jobs that we need more people to do. Some of them are programming, computer jobs, a variety of other highly skilled jobs. Okay. There's an interesting back and forth here between Ingraham and Trump on the necessity for this. And I can see both sides on this, and I think it's worth having this discussion.
Administration, because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent.
We have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles.
Where do you stand, Mr. Secretary?
Brian, for years, 20, 30 years, we have offshored precision manufacturing jobs. And the president's point here is, we can't snap our fingers and say, you're going to learn how to build ships overnight. We want to bring semiconductor industry back to the U.S. There are going to be big facilities in Arizona. So I think the president's vision here is to bring in overseas workers where these jobs went.
Who have skills.
Who have the skills, 3, 5, 7 years to train the U.S. workers. Then they can go home. The U.S. workers fully take over.
So do you understand the concern that people have? Hey, an American could have that job. Why you give it to a guy from India or
But an American can't have that job.
So it's specific skills.
Because we haven't built ships in the U.S. for years. We haven't built semiconductors. So this idea of overseas partners coming in, teaching American workers, then returning home, that's a home run.
Okay, it makes some sense, right? But it's a tough message for Trump. And that clip went everywhere because people were saying, well, what are you talking about? We don't have the people in this country. And I think we absolutely do. But it does make some sense that as you reshore things back to this country, which we knew we had to do after COVID,
right.
We knew that had to happen. And it's happening now, right? It's starting somewhat to happen now, although some of it's just shifting to other countries and not China, right? But still, we are bringing some of it back. Some of this can be a painful transition. And it's not all or nothing. It is not, add a bunch of visa, possibilities here or don't have any. It's going to be somewhere in the middle, and Trump's got to navigate that. But there are a lot of people who are pretty upset about that comment.
Well, I just think in general, too, you look at Trump, going even back to that mortgage idea, right? You go back to the mortgage idea, you go to this idea, you can see that Trump, this is speaking the obvious, but that Trump is like the businessman. Like he really is a business guy. This is how his brain thinks. And so a 50-year mortgage, this is a guy that you build wealth sometimes by having debt, right? That would be his argument is if you can afford more now and you have to carry debt a little longer, but it doesn't sink your ship, then you should do it. I think that's his logic behind that 50-year mortgage, even though it makes my heart rate go up, right? He's looking at this and he's saying, listen, Our country is not capable of having all these jobs just based in America right now without the help of people who've been doing this industry. So let's bring these folks in, help them train them up. So you just see his mind. And to me, it's all about the business. It's all about he looks at America like running a business. And for better or for worse, some people don't understand that. Like sometimes me. Sometimes I'm like, whoa, this seems kind of weird. But he's a good businessman. So it's kind of interesting.
And I think Scott Bessent did a good job following up his comments saying, hey, here's kind of what we're thinking. So again, that ends up somewhere in the middle. I know politics is much more aligned for black and white, and never will the two shall meet. But this is a gray area issue where you do need some workers. There's no doubt. And so I think they're trying to navigate that. I want to end with talking about John Fetterman in Pennsylvania, because we've said some nice things about Fetterman. You've been a little more, restrained.
I'm not restrained. I just think, Fetterman is an interesting character because I never thought in a million years we'd be saying he's the Democratic senator that has the most common sense. But who knew that's what we were going to have to say?
No. There's no doubt we're there. I'm going somewhere else. I'm saying he could well be the most honorable senator in the U.S. Senate right now. The reason I say that is because he's standing up against his party to say, wait a minute, this is nuts, and I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And think about how many people on both sides, you sit there and go, are they going to stand up for what's right? And believe me, there are plenty of Republicans who do it too. But you see this government shutdown, and they all line up and just keep people from getting paychecks. You're like, what are you doing?
Right.
And they know they shouldn't be doing this, but they're doing it anyway. They're using people as a pawn, and it's infuriating. Well, I would argue that John Fetterman right now is standing up for morality and what he truly believes, which I think is a lot harder than people give him credit for. So I want to go with two different sound bites from him, but here is the first one. And just to kind of listen to where he's kind of evolved to, and then we're going to get to some of the threats that he's faced because of it. So here's John Fetterman.
My heart breaks for what the Jewish communities suffered, especially after 10/7. I've had the honor of meeting, members of the hostages, former people that were kept underground for 500 days. Those are heroes. I've met with widows. Their husbands were lost in the Gaza war, and they have 8 children, raising 8 children by their own. That's a hero for all of it. So for me, it's heartbreaking. And that's been what's so difficult for me is like being devotion to Israel becoming increasingly incompatible with being a proud Democrat now too. And that's put me at odds. And the things that put me at odds have all converged at the same time. The Gaza war, the peace deal, and then we moved right into a shutdown. Like now Democrats might not be allowed to hold these views.
I mean, he's right. I mean, and back to back, he stood up on the Israel issue and on the shutdown issue. And there are just very few people in Washington who matter, especially in the Senate, really. I mean, the House has some more interesting, eclectic people, right? Because it's a much bigger body and it's much more chaotic. But the Senate means more than the House as far as opinion makers go. And John Fetterman, to me, the more I watch him, and you'll see in this next soundbite, the more I watch him, the more inspiring I think the guy is. Even though I disagree with him on most everything. Not Israel, clearly we agree, and on the shutdown we agree, but a lot of other things. He's a very much a man of the left, there's no doubt. But he's also somebody of principle. And I think that means something. And I think it's kind of inspiring when you see where he came from and how the kind of shape he was in when he was running and how difficult things were. And then you see where he is now. I have an incredible amount of respect for him.
Okay, can we just, I don't want you to play the clip, but can you freeze the clip for me? I know this is almost childish for me to say this, but it's because I have 2 teenage daughters, and this is what they would say based on that clip. Can you just even? Is it even possible to show that clip?
I can. You want?
Don't play it. Just play it. It has nothing to do with what. It has nothing to do with what he said. What is it behind him? I'm sorry. I'm so distracted by looking at this AI generated room.
Oh, sentiments.
I mean, what's happening?
Sentiments?
I don't even know what it is. Is it?
That's the word on the wall.
Okay,
on the
but
back
if it's
wall.
it's an AI
is that
fake
a bed
room
behind him?
Yes, with an unmade bed. I mean, it's a messy bed behind him. It's AI. If you're gonna do AI, maybe you should have like.
You sure that's AI?
Yeah, look at the door and look at the carpet.
It's a hotel door.
Yeah, it's not though. I don't think that's a real room.
That's a hotel room.
No way is that a real hotel room. Look at the carpet, guy. That's AI.
Okay.
And it's a messy room. Okay, or if it is his hotel room. Why is he doing that in a hotel room with a messy bed?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I know this has nothing to do with what he said, but it's a podcast, so this is what we do sometimes. Is I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I had to bring that up.
No. I thought it was sentiments. The word above him is sentiments.
Yeah,
but
the wallpaper. I really believe it's an AI background because if you look at the door, it looks like it's AI generated. It's just none of it makes any sense to me.
George, it's the George Hotel.
Yeah, but look at the door.
It says George on it.
Yeah, it's probably something maybe I don't know. I could be wrong. I just think it looks weird and it's distracting. Okay. Now I'm distracting from the story. So let's move on.
Okay.
So let's talk about this Atlantic Journal-Constitution poll because it ties into the other clip about Fetterman that you have.
Yeah. And if you look at the poll, this is from the HAC and it was just a poll in Atlanta and it doesn't mean anything in and of itself, most of the poll results, but it says, what do Democratic voters care most about? What is most important to them? Their number one issue with 20% support is opposing Donald Trump. Okay.
Yeah, what a shocker.
So what that tells me is people like John Fetterman could be an endangered species because that isn't Fetterman's number one priority. His number one priority, and not that he doesn't oppose Trump, he didn't vote for the big, beautiful bill. He didn't support any of that.
Right.
So, but he also has not made his number one priority opposing Trump. He didn't support shutting down the government because he didn't like Trump. Right. I mean, so you look at those numbers, you say, wow. Okay. And then what he gets into, and this is, I think it was CNN is who he ended up talking to after the clip we just showed you about the AI generated background. And he had an interesting interview with Dana Bash. Okay. And I want to play that for you. I'm sorry, I just jumped the gun on it, but I want to play that for you. It's a little longer. It's a couple minutes long, but it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking when you listen to him describe what it is like to be him. Just listen to this.
I've drunk deeply of the venom of both the left and the right. As a connoisseur, I can confirm that the most poisonous, the bitterest, is from the far left. That is pretty remarkable to hear you say that as an elected Democrat. Why?
No. It's just been my personal experience on this thing. And when I asked my digital team, I said, we're on all the platforms. Really, what's kind of the harshest? What's kind of the most personal? And the answer was immediate. He said, "Oh, blue sky. It's blue sky." And the difference is, the right would say really rough things and names. Some names I won't repeat on TV, but the on the left, it was like they want me to die, or that we're cheering for your next stroke, or that's terrible that depression won. Why couldn't it depression won? And I hope your kids find you. They even have like the graphic, a GIF where they have like a stroke, in your head, cheering at that. Yeah, and they said that. I remember one. They claimed, the doctor let us down, and why did they have to save his life? Just really, I just can't imagine. People are wishing, I wish he dies, or I want him to die. Literally cheering for a stroke. And I don't know what the kind of a place where that comes from. That's much different than just calling me a name. That's really been consistent, in that community online.
And so, I don't know. It just struck me today as I saw that stuff. And I think there are very few people who stick to their guns in this day and age politically, even when they end up at odds with their party. And I think those people deserve respect. And so I think he just deserves respect.
Yeah, and I think that even when people disagree with us, politically, they're still a human being. And it's I can't imagine. I can, because we've been called some things, very much so. Mark has definitely been called a lot of things, but it's interesting to say, he's like, I don't know where that comes from. And to me, the first thing that comes to mind is it comes from a godless individual. It comes from somebody who has no faith in God, because I think at that point, when you can be that cruel towards a fellow human, just for the way they believe about something politically, that you can go on the attack so badly on a personal level and wish somebody to be dead or to have another stroke. I don't know how you get there unless you are like literally removed from a God-like conscious. I don't know. I just think that you lose some of your humanity. And I pray for our country that we don't lose our humanity. And even on our side, even on the conservative side, I always want us, to be in what we told the girls. We may not agree with people politically. We may have differences. I have a lot of friends on the other side, and we can go back and forth on policy all day long. But I still love those people, and I still respect those people, and I want them to, still know that I've got their back as a friend. So anyway, okay, Mark's giving me the wrap up because, of course, I've gone on a tangent. So thanks again, you guys, for spending a little time with us. We appreciate it. Make sure you drop a comment in, like, and subscribe. We appreciate you. God bless, and we'll see you back here on Sunday.
You've been listening to the No Doubt About It podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at No Doubt About It Podcast.
No doubt about it.
The No Doubt About It Podcast is a Choose Adventure Media production. See you next time on No Doubt About It.
There is no doubt about it.